once again to another episode of Heavy in the Paint. Gerald Brown hanging out with my man right here, former NBA player, NBA champion. Now he's a college basketball head coach, Mr. Dennis Hopson, a.k.a. D-Hop, a.k.a. had the fade, had the high top.
I still got it.
No, you don't. That's gone.
I still got it, boy.
No, it's gone. Hop, what's going on, man?
G, what's up, man? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thoughts on these NBA finals thus far? How surprised are you that the way the Boston Celtics have been so dominant in these NBA finals?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I think a lot of people are kind of giving up on Dallas too early. I mean, you look at Boston playing the first two games at their place, and JT and Brown, them guys can play, man. They can play, and Kyrie and Luka. I think it's tomorrow they play. I mean, hey, I'm sure they'll probably win tomorrow. But again, man, you got each side has a couple great guys, man, that can get it done. And again, I think Boston they're winning at home like they're supposed to. Now somebody's gonna have to steal a game at somebody else's place.
When you look at the game now, because you were a prolific scorer in college, bro. You were a bad boy. I don't know if I ever told you that.
You never told me that, man.
Yeah, because you know what? I just really admired your game. You was a bad boy in college.
You didn't care about that, man. You was just you want to turntables, man. No. Technique 1200s. That's all you want to do.
No, man. But you was a bad boy in college, man. And you look at the way the game is played now. How would your game? Do you think your game would have translated very well in this era of basketball where it's really pace and space and getting out on the open court?
Yeah, I think it would have been great for me to play during this time as a guard. I think the benefits now is you got people like I'm gonna use Brad Sellers because we're close friends, but you got people like him, 7'1", 7 foot, playing on the perimeter. I think the game now is where he would have thrived big time. But people like myself that, like you said, could score the basketball, it's wide open. People are playing with 12 to 15 feet of spacing. Only time they come together now is when they're getting ready to hand the ball off or get ready to set a pick for somebody. But yeah, I honestly believe that it's a lot user friendly now than what it was back in the day. Because if you remember, G, back in the day, man, you had big guys, traditional 5s and 4s, setting screens for 2s and 3s, and point guards running ball screen action. But you had all these big guys on one half of the court, and it made it tough to score. And now, you got guys just wide open. People are running the spots, and again, they're giving you 12 to 15 feet of spacing to play, and you just do your thing.
Yeah. Is there a player that you look at their game and you see semblance of your game in them? And if you had to identify a player, who would that be?
Oh, that's a great question, man. I think I don't know, because I think the game is a little different. I think at the position that I played, the 2-guard position, we had the ball sometimes, but now you got the 1s, 2s, and 3s and 4s. I mean, they're running ball screen stuff. So, that's a great question. I don't know that I can sit here and think of all the teams that's in the league and kind of put my thumb on somebody that I feel like I was similar to.
How much of a trend? I always wanted to ask you this. And, again, you can look at so many different ways in terms of players' careers and seeing how things play out. How much of a difference do you think, or of a challenge it is to go to an organization? Now, you were a lottery pick, if I'm not mistaken. You're a lottery pick. Again, you were a bad boy in college. I remember when y'all came to the Garden and stuff like that, tore it up that year, and you putting up these numbers. How big of an adjustment was it for you to go to an organization like the Nets that really didn't have structure in place, a winning culture, that they were trying to develop and stuff like that? How difficult and challenging was that for you as a rookie coming into the NBA as a lottery pick?
It was a big challenge. It was a very big challenge. Had great guys, but I think some of the guys had been around for a while, and I think they kind of got used to the situation that the Nets were in at that time that I got there. We had great guys, man. We had people like Buck Williams, Mike Jaminski, great guys. They wanted to win, but I just think that they got used to the situation. But I think the biggest thing with me, Gerald, is that when we had Dave Wool for my first 19 games, and I can honestly say that Dave Wool, he didn't want me. He didn't want me. He wanted Reggie Williams, and that was fair. But he didn't want me, and I felt that. And the other thing was, being a lottery pick, I didn't know the expectations that were put on me because I didn't put those type of expectations on myself, because I was a guy that always took his time and got a feel for the game and then did my thing thereafter. But during that time, as I got older, I never forget, I got drafted and they handed me the number 23. Now, I thought it was because I wore 32 in college and the number was retired. That was Dr. J's number. But come to find out years later, but that wasn't the reason. That number was given to me for me to be like somebody else. But again, I didn't put those type of expectations on myself. I was a let the game come to you type of a guy. But again, if I had to do it all over again, I know I would have been a lot more selfish than what I was, because I know that I could have scored. I watched myself get better each year, the 3 years that I was in Jersey, and the last year I actually led the team in scoring. But again, it is one of those things to where I never really felt welcome. And then on the other side, I played with great guys that I just don't know if they knew how to win once it got to a certain point.
Yeah, because again, we have the draft right around the corner, and obviously the narrative is that it's not going to be a great crop of guys or whatever. But I've always wondered, and I think a lot of the times, first of all, I really don't believe in that term bust, because I think at the end of the day, it's both parties having to have some responsibility, because if you see a player and that player doesn't fit in your system,
you just use the right word, fit.
He doesn't fit in your system, then you should have evaluated him a lot better. And at the end of the day, give him the opportunity. And then let's be honest, a lot of organizations don't know how to win. And really place the expectations on a rookie to come in and change the dynamic. And a lot of times that has to be the perfect storm. And how did you maintain not letting it eat at you at the same time, not falling into the trappings of the other players like, hey, it's nothing I can do?
Both of them got to me. I think it did eat at me. I think you guys have a tough media market on that East Coast, and it was one of those things where, again, the expectations were set by a lot of people, and I didn't set those. I didn't set those type of expectations for myself. If I were able to do it over again, or I had to give a young kid some advice, I would let them know exactly what they need to do if they were in the same situation. And then the other thing is too, man, is when you're a player that's never experienced a lack of confidence, and it hits you, I think it can be something serious. I think it could be very, very serious, and I think that got to me as well, because I let the news. I think I let the news get to me a little bit because it's like, hey, he's supposed to be doing this, he's not doing this, and I let that get to me. And again, I've never experienced that before, so I didn't know how to deal with that. So it was tough on the side where I did fall into the trap of the other guys. And then on the other side of that, it was one of those things to where, hey, man, they're kind of beating you up a little bit. And I'm not going to say I didn't have thick skin, but I've never ever been beaten up before. So it was hard for me to deal with.
Yeah, because you come from the Midwest,
yes.
You know what I'm saying? And you're coming from Ohio, and you go to Ohio State and stuff. It really is a big, big adjustment. And a lot of things factor into the fact is that an organization, obviously embracing, like we look at a Victor Wembanyama, he goes to San Antonio, where there's a culture that is established of expectations, at the same time being very, very supportive. You leave from there, then you go to Chicago, to the Chicago Bulls. And that's kind of the opposites. It's almost like you go from one extreme to the next. What was that experience like? And obviously the environment and the expectations immediately shift And how did you try to fit in with a team that is obviously playing for championships?
I think, it was one of those things to where my third year leading New Jersey in scoring. But again, we had 4 coaches in 3 years. All right. So now we're dealing with Bill Fitch, and me and myself and Chris Morris, and we just didn't, and Mookie Blaylock, we just didn't see eye to eye with Bill Fitch. It was more of him talking about his Boston Celtics days versus him trying to figure out how he's going to coach us. And that made it tough. So me and him didn't see eye to eye, but the trade, I think he had a lot to do with me being traded. And I really think, even though I was told how Chicago felt about me because of when we played them, I had decent games against them, and I was able to do a decent job in guarding Michael Jordan. They made a trade, and it was something I'll never forget, man. I was doing my basketball camp here in Toledo, and they came in and told me, or I got a phone call saying that you've been traded to Chicago. And I wasn't happy about that. And the reason I wasn't happy about that was because I knew I was going to be playing behind one of the best players that ever played the game, actually the best player to play the game. Where the minutes going to come from? Where the minutes going to come from? And, that was tough for me. But I will say this, man, getting traded there, myself, Scotty, and Horace got drafted together. I knew BJ because he played at Iowa. I knew Stacey King. So I did have people on the team, and me and Cliff Livingston got traded kind of like the same time. So we connected very well. But what they did was they brought that fire back. All right. They were on a mission, and they knew exactly what it was that they were trying to accomplish. And every day was competitive, man. It was super, super competitive, G. And it brought the mojo back, even though I didn't play a whole lot of minutes. It brought the mojo back. It brought the fire back.
How was it with Michael Jordan on the team, and how was he as a teammate, and what kind of Michael Jordan story could you tell us?
I can't, it's funny because when you watch the last Dance, a lot of guys felt a certain kind of way after watching it. But, I thought when I was there, man, Mike never caused me any problems. I mean, he went at me in practice. We went at each other. But as far as him hitting on me and doing this and that, like they tried to portray him as being during the documentary, I mean, he's never done that. I thought that he was very competitive. I thought that the red team and the white team, they always talk trash to one another when we were in there getting our ankles taped before practice. But again, he's never, ever done anything out the ordinary to me outside to compete. Now, one of the Michael Jordan stories that I would say is it was funny, man, because, with him having his own shoe, when we would pull up to games or on the road, we would be at games and the bus would pull up and he would see somebody wearing his shoes. He would always say, keep donating to the Jordan Fund. But outside of that, man, we've never had those type of moments where he was being disrespectful. Let's put it that way. Like people portray him to be in the Last Dance.
Yeah, I remember when you got traded to or went to Sacramento,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember coming up there. I remember see you up there in Sacramento, and I would say that you were part of a team. You, Spud Webb, Mitch Richmond, really kind of in a sense started that shift that continued on with C Webb and all of them, and really having the support, because that was the biggest difference in my opinion. It's not against New Jersey back then. You guys as competitive as you could be, you want to give it all, but the fans weren't receptive. In Sacramento, you have this town who just love the Kings. Talk about your experience going to the Sacramento Kings, and how much did you take from that experience winning an NBA championship and being a part of the Bulls and going into Sacramento and being a part of that transition to a team that was respectable and really not that far off from being a team that could be in the playoffs?
It was one of those things where when because I got traded the fifth game into the season for Bobby Hansen in the first round pick. And, I was excited. I was excited to go. And it's funny because on paper, you had a lot of great names on paper. You know, you talk about Wayman Tisdale, Mitch Richmond had just got traded the week before I did. You talk about Spud Webb. You talk about Anthony Bonner. You talk about Lionel Simmons, Pete Chilcutt. It was a lot of guys, Randy Brown. It was a lot of guys that were a part of that team with big time names. But again, on the flip side of that, Gerald, was you still had that organizational structure like New Jersey, where they went through a ton of coaches. They didn't know, you know, what was going on. And you had this guy wanting this, another guy wanting that. You had, you know, in regards to ownership. So it was hard for us to put it all together. But again, I was able to come from Chicago with a lot of fire, and I was competitive out there, man. I never forget. I think I averaged 18, 19 minutes a game, and I averaged over 10 points a game during the 18, 19 minutes a game that I played. So I kept that fire, and practices were somewhat competitive, not like in Chicago. Again, I think you had some guys that had been around, even though that they were younger, they had been around for a little bit, because I know Lionel, Anthony, and Randy Brown, they all got drafted there. You know, again, just kind of in that funk. I'm gonna call it a funk. That word might be a little strong, but I'm gonna call it a funk. And again, just didn't know how to win, man. But the names on paper, I mean, you had great talent on paper, just didn't know how to put it all together to win. But we had a great time because we all got along well.
Yeah. Now you're coaching college basketball, and I want to ask you this question before we wrap up, and really obviously looking at the landscape of college basketball. To sum it up in a nutshell, do you ever think, or better yet, when do you think we will ever return to the freshman being the priority in recruiting as opposed to the 25, 6-year-old transfer portal kid?
I don't know if we ever will, man. I don't know, unless the rule changes again, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not. And you feel bad for the younger group, because if they're not a 4 or a 5-star kid, it's probably going to be tough for them. You know, I think every level there's something different. On my level, the NAI level, I still get to coach, because, you know, monies aren't transferring hands, so I still get a chance to coach. On the mid-major level, if you coach a kid up and he becomes pretty decent, the high majors is going to take him away, because, you know, they're able to pay him a little more money. So when you talk about the whole landscape and this NIL thing, it's not even playing grounds. I mean, the high major schools, they can pay more money than the mid-major schools. So now the mid-major schools are going to struggle, because if I get a decent player, like a Ray John Dennis that played at University of Toledo, Baylor is going to come in and take him, you know. So it's very, very tough, man. And what it does is it puts coaches in a bad situation now, because this is on all levels. You can't build anything, because even on a high major level, I'm sorry, if you're not accommodating the kid, he's going to say, man, I'm out of here. If you're not giving him what he wants, and that has nothing to do with the money. But if you're not talking to him the way he wants to be talked to, or he feels like he's being disrespected, or he's not playing, or he's not playing enough, or whatever the case may be, man, they're making it too easy for these kids. And the coaches are the ones that, you know, you're trying to build something or develop a culture. It's going to be tough for them to do, man, because these kids have too many options.
Yeah, when you look at it, and obviously, you know, aspirations you got in this coaching and stuff, and you're at the NAI level.
Mm-hmm.
What is your goal? What is Dennis Hopson's ultimate goal from that perspective of coaching?
You know, if I could move up, I'll move up, man. But you have to be where your feet are.
Well, how high? Would you go NBA?
No, I mean, I'll go anywhere as long as I'm doing what I love to do. You know, and I know the higher the level, the more it comes with that. But again, you know, I think I enjoy the game. I'm not gonna say I think, I know I enjoy the game, and being able to share a lot of information that was shared to me in the past. So, you know, I wouldn't trade what I'm doing for anything right now. And even though I know that it's not the best situation for a lot of coaches nowadays. But hey, man, I'm still doing what I love to do, so I'm going to continue to do it until I get tired of it or I can't do it anymore.
What made you get into coaching? Going backwards, what made you get in coaching?
Well, again, I think again we can talk about my New Jersey experiences. You could talk about things that I've learned from all the great coaches that I've been around. So why keep that knowledge a secret? Why not share what was shared with me and try to help the young generation get better through the game of basketball? Because it's not about basketball, man. It's about what the game can do for you. Because the game is short-lived, short-term, and hopefully you're going to live a long time. But there's a lot of lessons and things that you can learn through the game of basketball. And you learn, I've learned, everybody that's played, they've learned. So why keep what you've learned a secret? Why not pass that information down to the younger group in hopes that it's going to help them develop and become a real person through the game?
Yeah. If you had an opportunity to speak to this upcoming draft class, who don't really have a lot of high expectations, put on them, it's already a negative associated with the fact is that it's not really a good draft class. What message would you give to this class as they go into this NBA draft?
Well, first of all, I don't think, people, it's funny that you do hear people say it's not a good draft. But you know what? They're getting an opportunity to play at the highest level. All right. Why would you say it's not a good draft? I mean, I don't know why people say that, but I think, if I had to tell a young person or a young kid that's about to be drafted, hey man, you have to go in there, man, with a will and play with a sense of urgency. Yeah, I mean, because you never know what's going to happen no matter what, and stay committed to your craft. I think staying committed to your craft and going in and learning from the veterans and doing what they want you to do and hold yourself to a high regards, because again, I think that's one of the things where, big time coming out of college, but again, even in college, average 5 points a game coming out of school. Okay. And then ended up becoming the all-time leading scorer. Why? Because I just didn't put those type of expectations on myself like a lot of kids today. If you ask them,
wait a minute, back up. You said you average what in high school?
No, in college, I averaged 5 points a game as a freshman.
Oh, as a freshman.
As a freshman in college, and I started a lot of games because we had a kid becoming eligible. But again, when I went there, I didn't have any expectations. I didn't go in saying I was going to be Big Ten Player of the Year. I didn't go in saying that I was going to be a first round draft pick. I didn't go in saying I was going to lead. I was going to be the all time leading scorer. These are things that I didn't go in doing. So I've always been a type of guy that, hey man, you take your time. And play yourself into play yourself up. Don't go in being overly aggressive. Same thing, but I would tell kids today, you know what? If you want to continue to get paid, you got to go in there with a sense of urgency, man. Buy in and do what's asked of you to do, but don't be afraid to do what you're capable of doing, and don't be bashful. Go all out and doing it.
Yeah, I got to give you your flowers, right, man? Because I know that I've said this to you on the phone, but I tell you this, man, I really, really appreciate your friendship.
Yeah.
During the time back then, man, that I admired you, I looked up to you, from just being suave and just, again, this great, phenomenal college basketball player, and you come to the NBA and you just demonstrated so much humility. What you showed to me, I always appreciate, and I can recall just being able to hang out with you, going to Ohio State's campus, and I never forget we sitting up in the arena, and we sitting in the St. John's Arena, right?
St. John Arena, yep.
St. John Arena in the summertime, and you say, "Yo, this young man right here, he from my hometown, Toledo. He coming here next year." Jimmy Jackson.
Yeah.
I never forget that. And it was like, we were sitting there and I was so amazed about just being on campus and just seeing how you maneuvered around in your home in Columbus, Ohio. And just, again, I always had the utmost respect. And I thank you so much, because you gave me an image of understanding that, again, you don't have to be a certain way. You can have a level of humility and yet be great at what you did. And, I was really disappointed when you got traded to Chicago, but and then coming to see you in Sacramento and stuff. But I just always want you to always know, man, I never, ever forgot all the humility and the kindness you showed to me, because I was a kid, ball boy from Harlem and stuff.
Yeah.
Single parent household mother, but it was individuals such as yourself that befriended me, that I learned a lot from. That at the end of the day, certain things I look at, I said, man, you know what? I admire that. And again, just your humility and just being who you are, down to earth. And I'm so happy that you won the NBA championship. I'm glad that you coaching now and touching young people's lives in so many ways. And, even before you came on the show, we reconnected.
Yeah.
Always look and see what you were doing and stuff with your AAU team and stuff. But I appreciate you, man. Love you for that, because, you showed me a lot of things, man, in positive ways and stuff. And, I definitely appreciate you, and always want nothing but the best for you and your family, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you as well too, G. And it means a lot, man, because you've been around a lot of great ones, man. The Pat Ewings and
as a bum, he's a bum.
No, man, and my boy Gerald Wilkins and all them, man. Come on, man, you've been around some great guys, man. So it means a lot coming from you, because again, I think you were that young man that you knew what direction you were going in at an early age. And I think that means a lot. A lot of kids today, they don't know what's going to happen, and they don't have a plan. But I think you was that guy that had a plan. You made friendships, and I see what you're doing, man. And you have different people on your show. So you're still being respected, man, by a lot of the great ones. So it means a lot coming from you. So continue to do your thing, man, and stay blessed.
Yeah.
Keep doing the right thing, man. Taking care of that son, man.
Well, I got 3. I got 2 more. I got 3. All of them. 20. I got one 25. Get ready to be 25.
Okay.
In a couple of weeks, and then the middle one 21. 20. He's 22.
Okay.
And the young one is 17. Getting ready to be 18. But all boys. So you know what? I take care of mine, but definitely I appreciate the kindness and humility. Next time you come on my show, don't be sitting over there drinking like you Sammy Davis Jr. You know better than that.
Why, man? Why?
You got your little nightcap, huh?
Yeah, I'm grown, man. I'm 59 years old, man.
I will say this. You were smooth, man. I learned a lot. You were smooth.
What you mean, man? With them clothes? What you mean, them clothes?
Yay, you were smooth with the honeys, too. I don't want to get you in no trouble, because I don't know if you got a pass.
Yeah.
I don't want to, because if you don't have a top lock key, I don't want to be responsible for that.
Yeah,
I don't want to leave that alone.
Yeah,
but you were smooth. You were smooth.
You were smooth.
In the Big Apple, you were smooth.
Hey, man, Pearl got me like that. Dwayne.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. That's right, man. Love you, man.
I love you, boy, man. I appreciate you.
Okay, man. Let me know if I can help with something.
Always the one and only Mr. Dennis Hopson, right here, heavy in the pain.